Good evening, everyone. My name is Yolanda Komen. I am the founder of Meraki in Motion Wellness Centre in Brackenhurst, and I also do essential health and wellness as well through a business called Zhoozh. I have been a Puromans consultant for 10 years, and when Puromans closed down in South Africa, I was shocked. I was sad. I went through all the emotions that you could think of, and I thought, this can't die. We have done 10 years of absolutely exceptional work in South Africa, helping to educate women, and in particular, and very soon in my career in Puromans, 5 years in, 4 years in actually, because we were only able to present to women, I decided to open up my own wellness centre, and in collaboration with other doctors and therapists, I would then be able to present to men as well. Because so many women would come to me after a party and say, please won't you teach what you taught us tonight to our partners? Can we have a couples event, or can you do an event just for men? Now, unfortunately, men won't sit with a whole group of men and say, hey, I have a problem. I have erectile dysfunction, help, right? So, and also when you're sitting with couples, they're also not going to open up. As women, we are more open to having that sort of discussion, and although we might not discuss our problems per se, we will ask it for a friend. You know, my friend has this problem. And I think we generally are more, we're more willing to talk about those issues in an open environment. So although it is challenging, what we do want to do going forward is actually have workshops with men as well. And even if we invite a urologist or a sexologist, somebody to come and talk at the event where men can also open up, that would really be good. So tonight what I'm going to do, and Casper, thank you very much for joining as well. We've got a small group of people here. I'm hoping that more people will join, and I know that load shedding is a big problem tonight for people as well. But if there's anything specific that you would like us to discuss as well, the other three ladies have actually mentioned what they wanted tonight as well in terms of their expectation. But if there's something specific you'd like me to cover, just please mention that as well. You can either drop it into a chat or you can unmute your mic and let us know. All right, so before I start, one of the things, and I am going to ask you to unmute your mics because I'd like to have this as a little bit of an interactive session. You don't have to go onto video if you don't want to, but please unmute. I'd like to ask you what for you is important in a relationship. And very often at one of my parties, because of the kind of parties that we have, somebody will always shout out sex. Yeah, sure, sex is important, but what else is important in a relationship to get to that point of having sex or intimacy?
I think soul connection. I think you need to be, you know, I think not just a romance, but like friendship, you know, and have that friendship and communication and open communication. For me, that's very important.
Absolutely, and it's such a good one. I mean, for me, communication is the underpinning thing in a relationship. You've got to have good communication. I always say that there are a couple of pillars, and if you don't have, if you've got challenging ideas or conflicting ideas around philosophy and religion, or there is financial stress at home, or there is no sex or intimacy happening, you've got problems in your relationship. And also, lastly, communication. If you're not open and you're not communicating, there's going to be a breakdown in your relationship. All right. Sorry, somebody's just left a message. I think it was Charmaine. Let me just open that up. Respect, absolutely. Respect is vital. Vivian, from your side?
For me, I think definitely communication is a big thing. There has to be communication, but I think also trust is very big, because if you lose trust, that's, you know, it's very difficult to come back from that.
Definitely. Casper. Is it Casper or Casper?
Casper, like in a friendly ghost, yes. For me as well, trust and communication. I think that is a big one. If you want to make your relationship work, and understand each other. That is for me very important as well, because we come from different backgrounds and childhoods, and we've grown up in a certain way. So if you want to make your marriage or your relationship work, you must understand each other. So yes, for me, that is sort of the three pillars that a relationship must build on.
Thank you for that. Yes, and definitely, you know, and I think that's once again where my views on the religion / philosophy comes from, or if there's conflict, how do you resolve that? And it's that understanding and live and let live. You know, you might, to give you an example, in our family, we had a situation where one of my parents changed religion significantly, and it affected the whole family and the whole dynamic in the family. So if you're able to live and let live, that tension then goes away. But it's important to be able to get to that point where you've got that understanding as well. And I think then just something else that you mentioned as well, which is important. It's how we've been raised, and I think there's family values, norms, the filters that we've been raised with, societal influences, etc. And if I think about it, just as a child, you know, when you're 4 years old, you go to your mom and dad and you play or say, please tickle my back for me. And they give you a little tickle and you say, oh, please go harder, faster, go up, go down, whatever it might be. And I think very often in a relationship, particularly in an intimate part of our relationship, we forget to do things like that. We forget to say, I want you to go harder, faster, slower, softer, kiss me. Okay. Little things like that. And it's important to be able to communicate in a relationship, whether you're in the bedroom or outside of the bedroom. And many, many years ago, I read a book, well, I listened to the audio of the book, which is Light His Fire. And there are two sets. There's Light Her Fire and Light His Fire, and it is by Ellen Friedman. A wonderful set of audiobooks if you ever get the chance to listen to them. And something that has always stuck in my mind is, she said that it takes, women are the ones who will work the hardest at their relationships. You need to put in 80% of the effort to make your relationship work. Sadly so, because everybody should be putting in 100%. But I think at the end of the day, if we can be cognizant of that and just understand where each other is coming from, that will also help. And if you think about Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, once again, an absolutely brilliant book that spoke about the differences in how men and women think, behave, respond, react. And we are wired so differently. For women, it's a case of very often let me take 2 steps back. Men are like microwaves. So within a couple of minutes, they can be ready for action. They can be intimate in a very short space of time. For women, it's slightly different. We've got to be thinking about it through the day to get excited about it. Stresses at work might stop us from being intimate, etc. So there's so many things that can affect us during the day as well. And very often you might come home from work, help the kids with their homework, feed the animals, cook supper for yourselves, sit down, enjoy the meal. And then you get up and you still got to do the dishes, and you might have to sit down and work on a presentation for the next day at the office. Your partner may go off and either watch TV, or they might be sitting doing some work as well. 10 o'clock at night, you fall into bed and you're exhausted. Knowing that 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, you got to get up and do the same thing all over again, You might even have the shopping list going around in your head and you're battling to fall asleep. But eventually, as you start nodding off, your partner comes along and nudge, nudge, wink, wink, wants a little bit of nookie. And as a woman, it might be the last thing on your mind. And there's so many things that affect us from a libido perspective as well. And once again, it depends what has been happening through the day, how responsive she's going to be in that moment. If, let's say, when you were washing up the dishes, he came along and he put his arms around you and said, let me do the dishes tonight. You know, you've spent the whole day working, you did the cooking, go put your feet up, I'm going to do the dishes, whether it's packing in the dishwasher or actually washing the dishes, whatever it might be, and you clean up. She might be totally taken aback. Where did that come from? But I tell you what, those little things go a long way to building up appreciation. And appreciation for me is another one of those really, really big pillars, like communication. It's a form of communication. It's showing that we care about that person. It's showing that we appreciate what they've done for us in a moment. And whether it is by touch, whether it is by saying something. So many people respond differently to different things, and we'll talk a little bit about the love languages just now. But coming back to that story, so if you've come along and you've put your arms around her and said, really a huge thank you for that delicious meal, she's going to be doing flick flacks, and by the time you get to bed that night, when you put your arms around her, she's probably going to be a lot more responsive than had you gone, sat down in front of the TV while she carried on working. So how you respond in a situation is how your partner is going to respond back to you later on. And so I think appreciation and communication goes a really long way to building up that intimacy. So if we have a look a little bit at those love languages, I don't know if any of you know about the 5 love languages. Has anybody not heard of them? Okay, so let's do a quick recap. So the 5 love languages, the first one is words of affirmation. So there it's about encouragement, it's about appreciation, listening actively. You know, if somebody's sitting at the dinner table, but they're constantly looking at their phone, that already is a breakdown in the communication. And it's very distracting when somebody's on their phone constantly. If you're going to be spending time with somebody, be committed, be dedicated, be totally present and in the moment with them. The next one is physical touch. It is so lovely for somebody just to come up behind you and give you a hug, or kiss you in the neck, or cuddle you, or as they're walking past you, just to have their hands stroke against your back. It's those little touches that go so far in terms of building intimacy in very short bursts throughout the day. And maybe when you bring them a cup of coffee, if they're sitting behind their desk back to back in meetings with COVID these days, very often we're going from one meeting into another and we don't get the chance to actually go and make ourselves a cup of coffee. And if your partner brings you that cup of coffee and gives you, hopefully not while you're on video, but gives you a little kiss on the cheek and then goes out, it's those little subtle ways of showing appreciation, showing love, showing affection that really build up throughout the day. And particularly for women, it's important to have those little moments of connection because, as I said, we're like an oven. It takes time for us to get into the moment, whereas for men, it's very quick, like the microwave, right? So the second one was physical touch. The third one is receiving gifts in love languages. And that could be little gifts of thoughtfulness. So it is like bringing that cup of coffee. It is having a physical present that you unwrap. You know, it's that little love note that you leave in their laptop so that when they get there first thing in the morning and they open up their laptop, there's a note from you to say, thinking of you, love you, let's have dinner tonight. Let's have date night tonight. It's those little things, once again, in receiving gifts. And then quality time, as I said, those words of affirmation and quality time almost go hand in hand. When you say you're going to be spending time with somebody, be 100% present. Also, for some people, it's about giving of their time. So I've often said to my partner, for example, I know you can afford to have somebody come out and install something for me, but it would be so nice if you could actually help me doing it. Because then I'm there with you and I'm doing it with you. And or if you're doing it for me, if something's been bugging me, the curtain rail's been coming loose or whatever it might be for 2-3 weeks, and you go and you fix it for me without me having to ask you. Little things like that. If you are taking time of your busy day, which I know is busy, but I know you're giving that time to me or helping me do something, major brownie points at the end of the day. So each person's love language is so different. Okay, so sorry, that was acts of service. But then also that quality time is giving of your time and being 100% in the moment with your partner. Okay, so those are the 5 love languages. So words of affirmation, physical touch, receiving gifts, quality time, and acts of service. Each one of us have a preference. For some people, it is about touch. For some people, it's those words of encouragement. Each person is different. So try and understand what your partner's love language is, so that when you're engaging with them at their level, what they want. And they will be far more responsive to you then as well. All right, so then moving on. We've now gotten to the end of the day and we want to be intimate. We want to be more romantic. So maybe it's a case of running a bath and spending some time in the bath together and talking about other things other than your day. Let it be about you for a change. Let it be about your partner. Let it be about the dreams, the hopes, the aspirations, anything other than your work day. Because I think as well, we get hung up on the emotions of what happened in the day, that we might offload on our partner, which we often do. And sometimes our partners don't want to hear that because they've also had a tough day. And to then hear your drama of the day, it doesn't go down well. So once again, it's that quality time, coming back to quality time. One of the love languages. If you're going to spend time together, don't let it be about work. Don't let it be about issues. Don't let it be about the financial situation at home, because that can just lead into a fight again. Okay, so all these little things, when you're making time for each other, let it be about that person. Running a bath, lighting some candles, putting on some soft music, cooking dinner for them, having a date night, whatever it is, going out to the movies, taking the kids to grandma and having a night with your partner. All these little things help in terms of keeping the romance alive at home. And I think that's the important thing as well. When you've been in a relationship for a really long time and things have either gotten a little bit stale, or if the kids have left the house and you're now trying to find each other again, what are the things that you can do to actually keep that romance alive and make sure that you are constantly trying something new, something different? I think we've also got to be careful, particularly if we've been in a relationship and things have always gone rote. It's if we're going to have sex, it's always on a Saturday night and it's always in this position, and it's, and there's a pattern to things. We tend to get into patterns. And so when you start doing things differently, the last thing you want to have happen is your partner say to you, well, why are you suddenly doing things differently? Are you having an affair? You don't want that question to come up. So whether you say to your partner, I'm reading books, or you get date night cards or game cards that you can play together, these are different ways that you can break the ice into doing something different. And have that conversation with your partner. Say, I just feel like things have gotten a little bit stale. I'd like to bring that romance back into our relationship. So I'm going to, this week, it's my way, my turn to organize date night. And I'm going to do something special for us. Next week, I'd love it to be your turn, where you just do something that's totally off the beaten track, different to what we've always done before, and bringing something new and something fresh into the relationship. Once again, if you talk about it, if you communicate about it, you're not going to get that question, well, where did this come from? Are you having an affair? Which is the last thing we want to have happen. Sorry, I have my cat who's photobombing us. All right. So it is important to communicate on that as well. And then when you have those date nights, as I say, light the candles, play the music. You can bring in products like, for example, body chocolates. We've got, for example, we've got some heavenly body chocolates. My cat is here again. So this is one of the ones that we would typically use. It tastes like nachtmusiek. It is absolutely divine. You pour it all over each other's bodies in places that you'd love to lick and suck it off, and really enjoy each other in that moment. And I think from there, whether you are, sorry, my cat is distracting me here. Whether you are just enjoying each other, whether there is foreplay, whether you are just communicating and talking, which maybe you haven't done in years, and you're slowly starting to open up to each other, that would be wonderful. But I think the important thing to always remember is that physical touch mustn't always mean this is going to lead to sex. You need to be able to have a relationship where touch can also be about you, the person, just being spoiled in the moment. And very often, unfortunately, and this is coming back to the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. We're so differently wired. For men, it is all about touch. And this is once again to Casper's point. It's about understanding how each person operates. So typically men feel that they are loved if there is physical contact, if there is sex, if there is intimacy, then they feel loved. Women are very different. In order for us to have sex and intimacy, we need to feel loved. That's why I said, after she's done the cooking, you be the one to go up behind her, give her a hug or a cuddle, and say, I'll do the dishes tonight, go put your feet up, or let me pour you a glass of wine, let's just go sit for a couple of minutes before we carry on working, whatever it might be. It's in those moments that you're building that appreciation, that you're showing the love, that you're showing the affection and intimacy. That's going to then lead to sex. Women, you need to understand, men need to be touched, and they want the sex and intimacy in order to feel loved. So sometimes you need to initiate. And we very often hear the complaints from men that women do not initiate sex enough. And it's so important that we also initiate. We've also got to be the ones to say, come, let's go to the bedroom and have some fun. Or just drag him to the bedroom, take his shirt off, whatever it is, go sit on his lap, go kiss and cuddle him, take the phone away from him, whatever it might be. So these are the little things that we should be doing to try and understand each other and respond differently to what we've always done before. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, who are you kidding? All right. If you want to initiate change, you have got to be the change agent. And in a relationship, as I said, when we opened up the discussion, Ellen Friedman in her audiobooks, Light His Fire, Light Her Fire, she said that women are responsible for 80% of the change in a relationship. if you are wanting to, and how you behave in that relationship. If you want to see change, you've got to initiate that change. So, for example, let's say, take that scenario again, where for many, many years you've been passing each other by in the passage, and just living your lives. You know, we are so busy at work, whether you are a stay-at-home mom and you're busy with the kids, or whether you have an executive profile job as well, and your husband is out working. Both of you have long, stressful days. You come home, there's very seldom time for you in the relationship, especially if you've got kids as well. So by the time that they leave home, you either don't know who you are as people anymore, as a couple anymore, and therefore it is so important to start having those conversations again. So as I said, women are typically the change agent. You're going to have to take that first step. And you may not have to do it once or twice or 3 times. You may have to continue this for a couple of days, even a week or 2 weeks. Remember, to change a habit, it takes 21 days of change. Okay, so we can start by little things. So in the morning, before he leaves for work, if you've never kissed him goodbye, kiss him goodbye. Men, maybe say to your wife, gosh, you look gorgeous in that skirt. Very, very sexy. I want a little bit of you tonight. Or I just want to come back and hold you tonight. Okay, so once again, it's those little things, saying things, going back to the love language. How does she want to hear it? How does he need to hear it? Okay, so if we're talking their love languages, do things they want to have done to them or said to them. Then, once you've done that a couple of times, so whether it is leaving a note for them, whether it is talking to them, kissing, cuddling, whatever it might be, every day just do something different. The first time you do it, the person may not even respond. The second time you do it, once again, they might not respond, or they might think, gosh, what's gotten into her or him? Why are they suddenly being like this? Okay, what do they want? Don't worry about it, carry on. Eventually, they're going to get so used to them, so used to you either complimenting them or being different or kissing or cuddling, whatever it might be, that they are going to respond to you in a different way as well. So they might start saying, okay, well, let me make you a cup of coffee. Or, can I help you with dinner tonight? That you don't have to ask, would you give me a hand? So these are the different things that we can do to help keep that romance alive. So I'm going to stop and ask you to maybe contribute to the discussion, because I've been talking a lot. And I'd like to hear from you. Does what I say tonight resonate with you? And what has your experience been in a similar situation, or talking on behalf of a friend? You know, if you've heard your friends saying things in their relationships, what are some of the things that you know are challenges out there, or for yourself even, and how have you overcome that?
Yolanda, can you
Yes,
hear me?
Casper. Can you hear me? Yes, I can.
Yeah, I see this is a bit of a ringing in my ear. Yeah, our problem in our marriage, don't say problem, but kids. Kids take a lot of time, and you must work around the kids just to not work, make your marriage work, but you must. The kids take a lot of time, bedtime. You're working hard during the day, and like you said, you must. When it's come to bedtime, it's about, let's say, 8 o'clock or 8:30 up to 9 o'clock. Then if you want to be a little bit intimate or something like that, then everyone is tired. So then it moved to weekends when it's a more relaxing days, Saturday, Sunday. and that starts to become a habit. Yeah, it did happen during the week. I mean, but then it is like school holidays or stuff like that. So yeah, it is difficult. And men also have sort of a cyclus, if you can say it like that. You can't wait too long before to getting intimate, and then you have to do it. So yeah, it makes it difficult, but working around the kids for me in our household is a bit challenging. But yeah, we're coping and we do everything, and we're loving each other. We talking each other's love language, and we do understand what it is, how each other's love language are working, and you must listen to your partner's love language. So that is why we come to a certain time, not certain time like weekends, especially weekend, and then it happened for us. So sometimes you work on a Saturday, and then it's only a Sunday, and we're all tired, and the kids have sports and everything like that. So yeah, yeah, for us it is like a weekend thing. During week it's a bit difficult, like I said, but if it's a school holiday, it's better. So yeah, it is. For me, it is, and we work around it. We do it, and we love each other, and it's working for us. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. So yeah.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people will resonate with what you've said, Casper, because even if you don't have kids, there are always things that take up your time, and sometimes people make their lives so busy that they don't have time for their partners, and maybe for some it's an avoidance tactic as well, because when they do spend time with their partners, the argument starts. So and I know that's not everybody's situation, but it is some people's situation as well. So while we are living our busy lives, it is so important to try and make the time. So even if it is one night a week, where even the kids understand this is date night for mom and dad. This is, and maybe you don't call it date night to the kids. Maybe it's our time. It's our special time where we are not mom and dad, because you kids are going to go into your rooms, you're going to play, you're going to do your homework, you're going to go to bed early, whatever it is. This is our time. And they also need to start learning and respecting the boundaries that you have in place for them as well. Because the last thing that you want to have is your relationship having gone from 2-3 times a week, if you're lucky every day, every night of the week. But for most people, it's a couple of times a week to then weekends. And you don't want it going to a point of the ABCs, where it's anniversaries, birthdays, and Christmas. Okay, so you really want to maintain an active, healthy sex life. Something else that's important is when we get into our 40s as women, we start getting into our sexual prime. For men in their 40s, they start losing testosterone. And as men start losing testosterone, their libido will drop. They may even struggle to get an erection, and they may find it difficult to maintain an erection as well. So once again, we are faced with challenging situations where a woman is getting into her sexual prime. She has less hang-ups about her body than what she did when she was in her 20s. Even though she's got the love handles, she's learned to accept her love handles. She's come to terms with who she is as a woman, and has more confidence in herself as a woman. And so those inhibitions start to drop. She feels more free about exploring things. And as I said, maybe at that stage of your life, your kids are grown up, they may be out the house already, and now she wants to start experimenting, playing around, etc. And it could be the situation where the man is now facing problems with erectile dysfunction, either through high blood pressure, through diabetes, medication. All these things can affect us in some way. With women going into menopause as well, what could happen with them is the lining of the vagina can start to thin, and that can become very, very painful. And Vivian touched on this a couple of weeks ago, where it's so important to actually use a lubricant during intimacy and sexual intercourse. One, to protect the vagina, but secondly, to make it more pleasurable for both you and your partner as well. And understanding where we are in our lives physically is just as important. So when we're going through these challenging times in our relationship as well, where a man could potentially be struggling with a drop in testosterone, or having problems with his prostate, which could also lead to erectile dysfunction, whatever it might be, and please men, or ladies, if your partners are battling with this as well, if for some other reason, for more than 2-3 weeks in a row, if you are starting to struggle with erections, or if it is a prolonged period of time, 3 months, this can be an early warning sign that something is physically wrong. Please go see your doctor, particularly after 3 months, because it could be an early warning sign for a heart condition. It could be an early warning sign for issues with your veins, potential blood clots, whatever it might be, thrombosis. It could be prostate issues, whatever it might be. So these are early warning signs that if you leave it unattended to, could cause you problems down the line. So the penis is actually a really important organ for many, many different reasons. Listen to it. Then, men, to understand what your wives are going through when they get into their 40s. So if she doesn't want sex, it might be because it is just a little bit painful. So ladies, there is definitely something that you can do. You can take a vaginal, you can take a lubricant and use it just to help throughout the day. It takes that burning sensation away, takes the pain and irritation that you may feel away. And then you might be more open to having intimacy and sex later on in the evening as well. So understanding where we are physically as well as mentally and emotionally goes a long way to this as well. All right. So we opened up the floor and Casper shared something. Is there anybody else who might want to share what they're going through, some experiences or challenges they may be facing? Or what you're doing to keep your romance alive at home?
Yolanda, it's more of a comment than a question, but you cannot give from an empty cup, if that makes any sense. So when people are struggling, it's generally because they've given too much of themselves away and need to more kind of contemplate more seriously in terms of where you're giving yourself away and kind of prioritize in that sense. So if you've got a full cup and you're filling each other's cups, then I mean you have more of a potential there. And then also it's very difficult with the kids. It's not the same as it was where, you know, kids are seen and not heard, or, you know, that kind of a thing. You can't just stick them somewhere because God knows they'll get up to something. You know? So yes, it does become, I mean, you can speak to your kids, and I believe that, you know, having an open communication with them as well, in the sense that mommy and daddy just need some time alone, you know, like maybe we can go to granny, or, you know, that kind of a thing. So it's hard to navigate. And then also I think with women, men as well, not necessarily one or the other, but because we constantly in service of, you know, we're constantly making sure this is okay, that's okay, we kind of mother everything. We mother our jobs, we mother our kids, we mother each other, our friends, everybody. So you get empty far quicker, I think. Not to say that men don't, but I can only speak from me as a woman. I don't know the aspect from men. But yeah, that's just my comments.
Yeah. And I think you're 100% right there. It's filling each other's cups constantly, and by doing those little things for each other, it's going to count towards filling up the cup. Whether it is helping out with supper without having to be asked to help out with supper, whether it is giving him space to cave when he needs to cave, and understanding that he's caving, he's not avoiding you, he needs time alone. So once again, you know, if you think about a man's world, generally speaking, at the office, he's the one who's making all the decisions at the office for everybody else. Everybody is coming to him for advice. So sometimes by the time he gets home, all he wants to do is cave, and we need to allow him to cave. Okay, and it's not about you, it's about him and what he needs. And I, in a sense, I can almost associate with that, because Candace, we were having a conversation before the evening started, just to say, you know, how busy our lives are. So by the time I get to the end of my day, I have spent 12 hours talking to people. The last thing I want to do is talk. So I go and I cave. And my partner is caving. So we're both kind of hiding, and at some point we actually got to get together, you know. So but recognizing when you need time out is very, very important, and when your partner needs time out, and not making it about you, and not saying, oh, you're avoiding me, because he's not. He's just needing to cave. Okay. All right. Anybody else like to share something? Tanya. Jermaine, Vivian.
Yolanda?
Yes.
You've spoken a bit earlier about going into your 40s, and for me, and I'm actually just speaking to the men now, your body's changing. The woman's body's changing. Like, you know, talk about love handle, stuff like that. So, and especially as well as you must accept your wife as she is and love her as she is. Because if you start to want a bikini model, and that keeps you from your intimacy, and that keeps you from a happy sex life, so that is a red flag. So you both are growing in your marriage, and going into your 40s and going into your 50s, you must appreciate each other.
Absolutely.
Yes, for me it is a big deal, because if you speak your partner's love language, then your body doesn't matter. I mean, we all grow older, and our bodies are changing, like you said. No. It is very important for men as well, because men look with our eyes, and we, like the other guy said, you must look at the men. You must go eat at home. So yes, appreciate your wife, appreciate how she looks, and I mean, raising 3 children, your body will change. You will not look like when you're in your 20s or in your 25, around there. Your body is changing. So for me, accept your wife's body, and have the intimate and have love making to the best you can with your wife, even if she doesn't look like a 25-year-old or 21-year-old, whatever. This is just my input as well.
Thank you for that. And yeah, absolutely spot on there. And it's not just about you accepting your wife with all her curves and love handles, etc. It's the woman accepting their bodies as well, because I think we get so self-conscious about our bodies. We want to look good for our men. Women get dressed not for very often for themselves, but for other women. You know, we dress up to look good. We dress up to be smart. We do our nails, we do our hair, so that we look good to the world. Yes, we feel good when we do that. and it makes us feel special knowing that we're wearing a lovely piece of lingerie underneath, or it makes us feel sexy just knowing that we're wearing something sexy underneath. But very often what happens is women start to gain weight, particularly as menopause sets in. I think COVID has had such an impact on so many women as well, that a lot of people have gained weight through COVID because we're stuck behind our desks 24/7. And we're finding it more and more difficult to go out and exercise. I know I am. And so we find that we're starting to get bulges in places where we never had bulges before, and starting to feel self-conscious about our bodies. And it's about accepting that things are going to change and loving yourself for who you are. It's not about a physical appearance. You are more than just your physical appearance at the end of the day. Yes, work on it. But if you can't lose weight, don't beat yourself up about it. Go and buy yourself clothes that fit. Do your hair, do your makeup, and still feel good about yourself. You are so much more than just your body. Okay. And that brings me to the point of you need to be in a relationship with yourself. You have to, if you are going to let other people into your life to love you, you have got to learn to love yourself as well. You've got to know what you love as well. You've got to be able to talk about it. So once again, in the bedroom, you need to be able to say, I enjoy it when you do this to me. If you don't know where your G-spot is, you're never going to be able to tell your partner how to find it, how to stimulate you in order to have a G-spot orgasm. And yes, it does exist. We can go one step further and say, have a G-squirt, which is a female ejaculation. 2% of women are able to have that. I heard a frightening statistic last night around intimacy and now I've actually forgotten the actual. I'll come back to it, but just coming back to the statistics, 2% of women have a G-squirt, 10% of women have a G-spot orgasm, and only 80% of women have had orgasms or enjoy orgasms. This is the other one. 20% of women will get stimulated or will have an orgasm through penile penetration. That statistic I never knew, which was a very interesting one for me last night. I was listening to a talk on my sexual health, where they were talking about men and issues men have, and I found it extremely interesting. And just that specific statistic, was mentioned last night. And so once again, it's a case of understanding our bodies, understanding what happens to us, and not beating yourself up if you don't reach an orgasm. And once again, being in the moment. We've got to be able to laugh at ourselves, laugh in a situation, lighten the mood, and not make things so serious if we don't ever get to a point of orgasm or whatever it might be. And coming back to the issue with men in erectile dysfunction, as women, we must not focus on that. The more pressure we put on a man to perform, and the more attention we put on the problem, the more of a problem it's going to become. So rather than focusing on the problem, focus on the solution. So it's taking a little bit longer. It's taking the time to enjoy the foreplay more, to get to that point of erection, etc., etc. So I'm very conscious that we are running out of time. But once again, it comes to being in the moment, understanding your person's love language, talking that love language, doing whatever it might be to be with that person in the moment, and being focused on each other. When you've got time together, have quality time together and make sure that it counts. Communication is so important, whether it is through touch, through non-verbal communication, by doing little things, by a look that you give them, little notes, etc., all through physical communication, talking about things, and try and not let it deteriorate into an argument. Always, Vivian had a very good suggestion a couple of weeks ago, have a safe word, where when you call the safe word, you actually stop the conversation, because we know it's going to derail into an argument. So when you're in your quality time, don't talk about the work issues, focus on you as a couple. Talk about the fun things, talk about your dreams. Right. Are there any questions in the last few minutes before we wrap up? Questions, comments, contributions?
I think everyone's cool. Thanks so much, Yolanda. It was really insightful. A lot to think about. I think I'll watch the videos again. I will post them. Yeah, I think people need to speak about this more. I think there's definitely a need for it. So I'm very grateful for people like you who are unafraid of, spreading that or talking about that, because I do think it's needed in so many ways.
Absolutely. And next time, maybe what we should do is have a little bit of a party where we actually go through what are some of the things that you can do, what are some of the products that you can bring into the bedroom, and explore, and I'm very happy to do that as well.
Cool. No, thank you so much, Yolanda. We'll chat again. Thank you everybody for attending, and yeah, we'll speak to you guys later next week.
Appreciate everybody being here tonight. Thank you, and for all your participation.
Thank you, Candice.
Thanks, Yolanda.
Thanks, Yolanda. Thanks, Candice. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.